Are you sure those horrid little white rats are pure Dalmatian puppies? Quite sure, snapped Mr. Dearly. Now please go away. You're upsetting Mrs. And indeed Mrs. was upset. Even with the Durleys there to protect her and her puppies, she was a little afraid of this tall woman with black and white hair who stared so hard. And that poor cat who had lost all those kittens. Never, never would Mrs. forget that. And one day she was to be glad that she remembered it. How long will it be before the puppies are old enough to leave their mother? Asked Cruella, in case I want to buy some. 7 or 8 weeks, said Mr. Dearly, but there won't be any for sale. Then he shut the cupboard door in Cruella's face, and Nanny Butler firmly shoved her out of the house. Nanny Cook was busy telephoning the splendid vet, but he was out on another case. His wife said she would tell him as soon as he came home. There was no need to worry. It sounded as if Mrs. was getting on very well. She certainly was. There was now a 4th puppy. Mrs. washed it, and then Mr. Dearly dried it, while Mrs. Dearly gave Mrs. a drink of warm milk. Then the pup was put with the other 3 in a basket where Mrs. could see it. Soon she had a 5th puppy, then a 6th, and a 7th. The night wore on. 8 puppies, 9 puppies. Surely that would be all? Dalmatians do not often have more in their first family. 10 puppies, 11 puppies. Then the 12th arrived, and it did not look like its brothers and sisters. The flesh showing through its white hair was not a healthy pink, but a sickly yellow. Instead of kicking its little legs, it lay quite still. The nannies, who were sitting just outside the cupboard, told Mr. and Mrs. Dearly that it had been born dead. But with so many, its mother will never miss it, said Nanny Cook comfortingly. Mr. Dearly held the tiny creature in the palm of his hand and looked at it sorrowfully. It isn't fair it should have no life at all, said Mrs. Dearly, with tears in her eyes. Something he had once read came back to Mr. Dearly. He began to massage the puppy. Then he tousled it gently in a towel. And suddenly there was a faint hint of pink around its nose. And its whole little body was flushed with pink, beneath its snowy hair. Its legs moved. Its mouth opened. It was alive! Mr. Dearly quickly put it close to Mrs. so that she could give it some milk at once. And it stayed there, feeding, until the next puppy arrived. For arrive it did. I made 13! Shortly before dawn, the front doorbell rang. It was a splendid vet who had been up all night saving the life of a dog that had been run over. By then all the puppies had been born, and Mrs. was giving breakfast to 8 of them, all she could manage at one time. Excellent, said the splendid vet. A really magnificent family. And how is the father bringing up? The Dearlys felt guilty. They had not given Pongo a thought since the puppies had begun to arrive. He had been shut up in the kitchen. All night long he had paced backwards and forwards. Only once had he heard any news, when Nanny Cook had come down to make coffee and sandwiches. She told him that Mrs. was doing well, but only as a joke, for she had no idea he would understand. Poor Pongo, we must have him up, said Mrs. Dearly, but the splendid vet said mother dogs did not usually like to have father dogs around when puppies had just been born. At that moment there was a clatter of toenails on the polished floor of the hall, and upstairs, 4 at a time, came Pongo. Nanny Cook had just gone down to make some tea for the splendid vet, and the anxious father had streaked past her the minute she opened the kitchen door. Careful, Pongo, said the splendid vet. She may not want you. But Mrs. was weakly thumping her tail. Go down and have your breakfast and a good sleep, she said. But nobody except Pongo heard a sound. His eyes and his wildly wagging tail told her all he was feeling. His love for her and those 8 fine puppies enjoying their first breakfast. And those others in the basket waiting their turn. How many were there? It's a pity dogs can't count, said Mrs. Dearly. But Pongo could count perfectly. He went downstairs with his head high and a new light in his fine dark eyes, for he knew himself to be the proud father of 15.